During my interview with Bob Einstein, he had me laughing more than thinking. So I'm going to apologize in advance if I sound a little fuzzy sometimes. Here's Bob.
Hello.
Hi, this is Jim Miller. How are you?
Great, and yourself?
I am okay. I can't thank you enough for your time.
Oh, great. Maybe you want to send me a little money, but don't worry about that now.
So, can you take me into your mindset when you were creating the character of Marty Funkhauser? Because unlike Jeff Garlin and Susie and Richard Lewis and Ted Danson, well, we have their names and we have somewhat of a history with Larry. Marty just kind of, appears in this fourth season as a friend, and it's not you. It's not Bob. So how did you come to develop the character of Marty?
It's very, first of all, I hate pontificating about how we create things. We're just so lucky. We're lucky people. But it just developed. And my relationship with Larry developed, and it was very different from the other characters. I had some things happen to me that were amazing. My father dies, and he opens a casket because he buried his 5-wood in there, and then can I cuss on this?
Of course.
All right, then my mother dies, and the place where she was hit in her wheelchair became a monument there, and they put flowers on it, and Larry stopped and stole the flowers and gave them to his wife so he could fuck her. My daughter was a lesbian who went straight, and Larry turned her back into a lesbian. Jeff fucked my mentally ill sister, and this year something else happens, which I can't tell you. So that's how the relationship built. Yet I always said to Larry, if you weren't my best friend, and he would always leave it with, I'm not his best friend, no matter what he did. So it just kind of evolved, and it was very different from the other characters.
Not to get too analytical, but Marty does have a kind of world vision. I mean, it seems like family is very, very important to him, and he also is one of the few characters who, wants to kind of almost hold up a mirror to Larry sometimes and tell him when he's lacking a moral compass or when he's misbehaving, or the character does have kind of his own identity.
Well, again, I don't want to pontificate, but my dealings with Larry were, you're right, they were kind of straight, and I kind of had an attitude that wasn't too crazy, and it's fun. It's just fun working with that cast, and I love working with Larry. I mean, it's just so great, and it's certainly not a hard show to do. I mean, whatever scenes I have with him, even though they're all ad-lib, they seem to develop naturally. And each one in the cast has their own relationship and their own attitude with him, so it just kind of evolved. That's all I can say. It's nothing that's, I'm not Jonas Salk of comedy.
You said it's not that tough to do, but in a way, ad-libbing and that kind of improvisation, that's a skill set. And, I mean, clearly you have it, but are there days when you are thinking ahead to a scene that you're going to be doing, and do you kind of, in your own mind, rehearse things, or do you just let it happen on?
I my whole life, I did a character called Super Dave, and that was all ad-lib. And a lot of the things we did on Bizarre was ad-lib. And that, to me, when you do comedy like that, for me, it's so much more fun. And the answer is no, I don't rehearse, because I feel if you rehearse, you're going to be thinking about the line that you're going to do. If I'm talking to you now and I have a joke that I want to get out, a line, it's going to affect everything else we do. And I think the more you challenge and the more you have fun and everything else, I mean, I just love doing scenes with Larry. And the rest of the cast, they're just a solid cast. But to me, it's fun.
Speaking of jokes, your joke to Jerry and Larry during the Seinfeld reunion episode, I was laughing so hard I thought I was going to be sick. And that just came to you just like that?
No,
and you
no,
said,
no.
Do you
That
want to
was
hear
a
a
joke
joke?
I had. It's said in the outline. When we come to the set, there's outlines.
Right.
So it's like you and me are going to do something, and then you have to ad-lib that, so it makes sense. Well, in the outline, it says that Funkhauser tells Jerry an off-color joke. And there's not more of an off-color joke than I told him. I had to tell it 10 times because the first time I said, P.S., your thing is in the sink, everyone went up. The Seinfeld cast, the cameraman, the sound man, the director. So then each time I would go back to the letter of that joke, they would start laughing. So I had to do it over and over again. And
you didn't tell anyone what the joke was before.
No, the only one I told Larry because I didn't want him to laugh. So I told him. Jerry's reaction was a real reaction. I mean, he almost fell over. I mean, that was a lot of fun. I love Larry, and I love Jerry Seinfeld. I really do. I mean, we had a blast. I'll tell you a story, and I think it's the hardest we ever laughed, the two of us, is we were doing a shoot at a beach, and we were way high up and looking down over the ocean, and the lady who owned the house asked us if we'd like to come in and look at the house. And we walked in, and there is, I would say, 11 or 12-foot replica of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And he had the Laker uniform on, he had the glasses, and it was pretty brilliant, but it was cartoon-like. And she turned to Larry and I and said, "Do you know who that is?" And we've never forgot that. I mean, it was just a question you couldn't have asked. You know, I mean, it was just so great. And that's what happens, I guess, in your comedic life. I guess, a lot of us start our comedic life when we're kids. We don't realize it, but we're making other kids laugh. And when they do laugh, you kind of realize, without thinking about it, that maybe this is great, maybe this is fun. My father was a brilliant comedian. His stage name was Park Your Carcass, and he died much too young. He was at a friar's roast, and for Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, the Beverly Hilton, had absolutely killed the room, sat down, and died of a heart attack. He was 54. So that was a crushing. Obviously, when you're 14, it's just a crushing beyond belief. But I'm not here to say that. But I'm saying I used to watch my dad and see what he laughed at. So whether it influenced me, I'm really boring your audience now, and this is starting to bore me too, but go ahead.
No. But do you think that being in Curb has, I hate this word, but I'm going to use it anyway, stretched you as a comedian, and also in terms of what you think of in terms of comedy that's been, that you've done elsewhere in your career?
I don't think it stretched me. I just think it's another big element of fun. I mean, to be able to tell that joke, I keep saying this, but I don't know if your listeners have heard the joke. I'll tell it if you want, but to
Please.
be able to tell, you want me to tell it?
Sure.
Okay, a woman's afraid of the size of her opening. So she goes to her mother. She said, "What am I to do when I marry Harry? He's going to divorce me." She says, "Don't worry, sweetheart. Run to the family. Do what I did when I married your father. Go to the market, get some raw liver. He'll never know the difference. Put it right in there." So she does. They go back. They get married. They have 8 hours of sex. She wakes up in the morning and he's gone. But there's a note on her pillow. It says, "My darling Harriet, to think that I waited a year to consummate our love relationship makes my heart beat so loudly I'm surprised I didn't wake you up. The only reason I didn't wake you up, my darling, is the sun was shining through the window on your face and you were like a pot of gold at the end of my love rainbow. The only reason I'm not here, sweetheart, is I'm at work to make enough money to buy you a house, a picket fence full of dogs and children. When the 5 o'clock dinner bell rings, I will be home like the winged gossamer of love in your arms. Your loving husband, Harry. P.S. Your cunt is in the sink."
It's just, God, every time
I know it's impossible not to laugh. It's impossible not to laugh. And what I also love about it is if you tell someone a joke, you can see in their eyes they're A, listening to a joke, but B, they're trying to follow what you're saying so they can repeat the joke. And when I see that, I make the letters so long that their face goes dead because they can't do it. They don't know what I'm talking about or anything. And then when you hit them with that joke, it's a killer.
How did you come to decide on that particular joke?
Because it was so foul at the end. It was so foul at the end, and then it's so confusing in the middle. I mean, you can't follow it really, and you don't really know where the heck I'm going. And then when you hit him with that, it's a scream. In
the episode, it's beautifully edited because we get to see on Jerry's face, like he's following along and he's thinking, "Oh, this is a nice joke."
I know.
I
know. He laughed so hard when he heard it. I mean, it was just but it's that kind of a joke. You can't help yourself almost.
Do you have any idea what take we saw on the edited version?
Well, it was a lot of different ones. The take we saw was Jerry's original reaction where he backed up and was laughing. And they cut that down a little bit so he could say, I didn't know that would be so disgusting or whatever he said.
And I love Larry's impatience while you're telling it.
I know. He wants me to get on with it. That's another thing. It's just long. And he doesn't even want me there. And I came there for moral support. And I said, let's go sit at the table. He said, go in the bleachers.
I also love Marty's piousness, and I was wondering if you could talk about how you developed that, because like in Palestinian Chicken or other times...
I love that episode.
He really is just so brilliant.
I mean, that episode, when I'm in the house with a yarmulke on the size of a hubcap, and I'm sitting down there, I hear up above the Palestinian woman screaming, I'm going to fuck the Jew out of you. And then he comes downstairs like little Lord Fauntleroy, like he's made a big conquest, and introduces her to me. Martin, this is Sasha. Sasha, this is Martin. And I don't do anything. He said, all righty then. I mean, it's one of those episodes you die.
I think there's a book, though, The World According to Marty Funkhauser, because he does have this hierarchy of like values and ways to express yourself and things you should do and things you shouldn't do. And I don't know, I'd actually read Marty's approach to divorce, because that divorce episode was so brilliant.
It's really, this stuff is funny. I mean, and I'm not saying it because we're doing it. It's a delight to go home and watch the show. It's just, if you can laugh at your own involvement in the show, you know it's got to be good.
Are you ready to make your next move? Well, Squarespace wants to be with you when you do. Squarespace gives people a powerful and beautiful online platform from which to make their next move known to the world. With Squarespace, people can lock down their ideas with a unique domain, create a website to launch their idea, a portfolio to get their project out there, and an online store to officially open for business. There's so much that Squarespace can do for you. So what are you waiting for? Make your next move with Squarespace. Create a beautiful website or online store with award-winning templates. There's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade, ever. And Squarespace offers award-winning 24/7 customer support with fully transparent and simple to execute setup. Squarespace is used by a wide range of creatives, people, and businesses. Use offer code ORIGINS for 10% off your first purchase of a website and domain. That's offer code ORIGINS. And make your next move with Squarespace.
Were there ever any things in your real life that you drew upon specifically for Marty that you...
My whole life, I'll give you a good one. I'm playing college basketball, and it's a rough game, and I'm getting fouled, and I'm 0 for 6 at the free throw line. And that's unheard of. You're on a college scholarship. You can't go 0 for 6. But I am, and then I got in a fight. And I'm fighting, and they called a technical foul on the other team, and I grabbed my coach, and I said, do you want me to shoot the technical? And in the middle of that, he said to me, you know something? Sometimes you're not very funny. I mean, I just love things like that I would even say that to him. in this kind of thing. I'm bleeding, and I mean that kind of thing where you can. I'll tell you a great story that my dad did. If you're still interested.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm a kid, and we went to visit my brother at Fort Ord, California, and my dad and I are walking down a pier in Monterey, California, and there's this thing called the House of 1,000 Names. And I go in, and I'm looking around. I'm a kid, and they're little green cups with every name and every derivation of a name you've ever seen. Bob, Bobby, Robert, Robbie, Robert. And there were literally 1,000 cups. And I'm in there for 3 minutes, and my dad says, "Come on, Tunic." And I got it. And I turned around and left, and they raced down the pier. They said, "What's his name?" He said, "How do you spell that?" Tunic. Oh my God! So it was a set up a joke, and it only took a minute. But my dad had it. I understood it. Boom. So if you have the joy of growing up like that, or having part of your life like that, it's you get it. It's fun. It's lucky. It's just pure lucky. I think if who gives a shit what I think? But I think if a person got up every day and wrote a page about their life, what they did that day, and maybe put a little humor in it, put a little color in it, do you realize the books they'd have, that people would have?
Yes. Lee,
Why did it take you so long to say yes? Where did you go?
I was thinking about it. No, because I keep a journal, but it's far from as ambitious as what you just said.
But that's great that you do that, because we forget days, we forget things that happen. I'll give you a story that's the greatest show business story of all time. My partner and I produced 18 hours of Red Fox. Our shows, 18 of them, on ABC. It was a Friday show. And I loved him. I just loved him. And all he did all day was grass, coke, and screw. But when it came time to do the show, he was on it. He just knew it, and he was great. All the years he spent in the pits doing his comedy, and he was so good to his friends. Anyway, first show we're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 500 in the audience. Red Fox! And we had a big REDD, and it turned into a tenement. And Red was going to walk down the steps, and start the show. And the audience is screaming, "No, Red." I stop tape. I go to Red's dressing room. I knock on the door. I hear, "What?" I open the door, and the girl who does his hair is sitting on him. So I'm seeing her dress, and his knees. And I said, "Red." And from under the dress, he said, "What?" I said, "We're on camera." And he said, "Can't a man relax?" If you can find something better than that, you have to tell me. And then we're at his house one day, and Slappy White, they're great. I can't say anything. They're just hysterical. He's coming down the driveway. And he comes to the house, and he said, "Hey, Chief." And he said, "Slappy." Now, I look outside, and I see 4 or 5 dogs that they're the size of horses. They've got tennis shoes on. They've got napkins on. They haven't eaten, and they're roaming the grounds. And Red said, "I'm meeting with." He called. My partner was Alan Bly, and I was Bob Einstein, so he didn't know Alan too well, but he called us Blindstein, so he didn't have to work too hard. And Slappy said, "How you doing, Chief?" He said, "Look, go down to the pool house, and I'll talk to you when I'm through meeting with Blindstein." He said, "What about your dog?" He said, "I've known you 50 fucking years. Did my dogs ever bother you?" He said, "All right." And we sat and watched, like on Cinerama Dome, Slappy being chased around this yard by the dogs, dives in the pool, and he can't swim with his clothes on. And Red did nothing. All he says, "God damn, they did go after him." So you live comedic things that you couldn't imagine. It's unbelievable. And I owe my entire career to Tommy Smothers, because he gave us a chance when we were kids. Anyway, I'm getting way off Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't want to. because
Well, it's all connected, though, right?
I'll tell you one thing. I love Larry David.
But isn't it all connected?
Oh, sure it is. But sometimes you don't wind up with something like this. It's connected when you do it, but sometimes you just don't wind up. And sometimes you don't realize how much fun it's going to be or how it's going to turn out because you don't really know when you start.
Well, since you weren't part of the original show, how did Larry come to invite you to be part of the show?
We played golf, and we had fun. We were laughing. So he said, I got this character. I'd love you to play it. And so I came in, and it just started, and it just started to work. It started to work. And again, it's such a fun cast, and I think we all like each other. You have to, or you can't ad-lib. I mean, if you're ad-libbing with someone you can't stand, it gets tough.
Can you explain to me something about Larry and golf? Because golf seems to me to be the thing that Larry would resent more than anything because he's not particularly social. He doesn't like rules, and golf is full of rules. And it's like one of those conventions that you would think that he would be like rebel against, yet he loves it. It's such a presence in his life.
Because it's an athletic challenge that he can compete in. Larry can't right now go to the Dallas Cowboys training camp and have someone throw him a pass and have him go across the middle and have someone hit him. And golf is, I don't want to say this, but it's a challenge because if you allow it, you beat yourself up. You know, sometimes you play great, sometimes you don't. And you can beat yourself up, but he does love it. He does love it, but he beats himself up pretty good. But he's fun to play with. I love playing with him, but, you know, it is a bit of a disease. It also gives him a chance to get away. You know, it's a great escape. It's a fortunate escape if you can afford it.
The show is deceptively hard. Would you agree? Particularly from Larry's point of view in terms of creating these arcs and these, storylines?
Absolutely. But if you're trying to do a show that's funny, it's always deceptively hard. Super Dave is very different than Curb, but it was a challenge because you're doing physical comedy and you never know what's happening. You can get killed because you don't know. So also, I would say comedically, everything you do is a challenge. And yes, your answer that you asked me is yes, it is a challenge for Larry. But I think he loves it. I really do. I think he loves it because if the challenge comes out and it's good, boy, that's rewarding.
Parachute sheets are the softest and most comfortable sheets you'll ever own. And why is that? Well, simply put, it's because they're made from the very best fabrics. Parachute sheets have a clean, minimalistic style that come in neutral colors, so they work perfect in any bedroom. And the best part of Parachute is that their sheets get softer with time. Plus, if you're a person who wants to make an impact on the world, and frankly, who doesn't, then Parachute is the company for you. They've partnered with the United Nations Foundation to donate malaria prevention bed nets, and they've already donated 16,000 so far. Here's another great part of the story. Parachute offers a 60-night trial, so if you don't love your sheets, you just send them back, no questions asked. Now, if you're wondering how that makes a positive impact on the world, well, all returns are donated to Habitat for Humanity, and that's a great cause. So don't wait. Visit parachutehome.com/origins for free shipping and returns. Again, that's parachutehome.com/origins for free shipping and returns. It doesn't get any easier. It's time to get better sleep with Parachute.
I was a big SCTV fan, and Catherine O'Hara is just magical in my mind.
She's great.
When she was playing Ma'am, I mean, how did you guys get through scenes without cracking up all the time? I mean, it really, I can't even imagine.
Or not. If you notice, she was doing my voice. She was doing a very rough voice because she was my sister. And that was great. But that whole thing was great. I mean, for Jeff to fuck my lunatic sister is just, it's impossible.
Well, the dinner table afterwards, when
it was great.
they're
It was
trying
great.
to cover it up.
It was great. Yeah, that was good. Well, the show is fun to do. And even though Larry has to create it, he loves doing it. I mean, because we laugh, and if his ideas come to fruition, boy, that's fun. That's really an accomplishment.
I know that you're not allowed to talk about any details from season 9, but what did it mean to you coming back to the show after such a long hiatus? And
I didn't know. I didn't know what it was going to be like because we're all 5 years older. We hadn't done the show in 5 years. That's a long time. I'm telling you the truth. Day one, first word, done. We're back. It was back because no one tries to outdo their own character. And if you do, when you're ad-libbing, boy, you stick out. You just stick out. I mean, you automatically go back into what you do. And that's why I think, and I feel this year we pushed it. We pushed the envelope more. I know Larry and I did when we were in scenes. We pushed it more, and it came out, I think, great. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but
what does that mean when you push it more? Does that mean you go to more dangerous places? Comedically?
No, not dangerous, but you take an idea where it says in the scene, Funkhauser and Larry are discussing something, and you do that, and then all of a sudden you take it somewhere else, and if it works, it's hysterical. If it stays with part of the scene, it's hysterical because you made up something more than the scene was. So it's got to work like everything does, but it's sure. Hey, you know what I hope? I'm not pontificating about comedy because I think that's the worst thing you can do. I'm never saying why I think it's funny. I think it's a gut reaction. If the audience loves it, that's great. But I can't stand when people say, here's what comedy is, or here's why I'm funny, or here's what makes, because no one knows. You don't know. Everything is an experiment. So where was I? No, I just don't want, I personally will never pontificate about what's funny. I know what makes me laugh, and I know what I hold dear, and that kind of thing, but I've
Well, you were about to say about what you said, here's what it is about this next season.
Well, we push it a little farther, and the HBO took the time limit off the show. Some shows, like I think show 6, will go 40 minutes because it just is funny for 40 minutes. And I love that. I mean, I think that's great because then you can step out and do more, and if it doesn't work, you can cut it. But I had a good time this year. I had a real good time. I have a good time every year, but this year I enjoyed it maybe the most. But I've been so lucky. I mean, the people I've been able to work with. I'll give you a story. You don't have to use it, but you will love it. We came off 6 years of Bizarre, which was 26 shows a year. That's a lot of shows for 6 years. And John Viner was spectacular. He just was just great. And we did a lot of, I came out as a producer, and we ad-libbed all that, and we had Super Dave in that. And so we went to do Super Dave, and I said to my partner, I mean, I'll never forget this phone call, but I said to my partner, we got to get a guest that's going to blow Showtime's mind and blow the audience mind. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try to get Ray Charles. Now, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever said in my life. But I thought if I could get him, fly him to Canada, pay him bullshit, and get him to do what did I say, it would just legitimize the character beyond belief. So I called him up, and his manager answered. I said, hi, my name is Bob Einstein. I do a character called Super Dave. And the manager said, we know who you are. And I'm going, oh, my God, okay.
That's a good start.
Oh, my God. So I said, here's what I have to ask you. Ray Charles is my favorite single human being on the face of the earth. And he was. I mean, you could listen to Ray forever. And I said, I'm asking you to bring him up to Canada. We can only pay him $10,000. I want him to do What Did I Say? And it's the first show of Super Dave. So I expect, hey, go take your dick and stick it up your own ass and fuck yourself and don't call us again. I'm expecting the worst possible reaction I could ever get. He says, I'll call you back. Hangs up. Next day he calls me back. Now listen to this, what I'm saying right now. He said, Ray will do the show if you let him be in a stunt. And I'm now Mary Poppins. I'm off my feet. I'm going around in circles because I can't believe he said that. I wouldn't have had the balls to that. So our first show, Mike Walden, my announcer, is waiting. Oh, I'm so far away from Curb. I'm sorry. This is a funny thing.
No,
But
please,
anyway,
continue.
Mike is waiting for us, and he said, Super Dave, oh, here comes Super Dave now. And this car comes in on two wheels. It goes around a tarmac, goes up a thing, races, goes up a ramp, goes through a huge billboard of Super Dave, lands, and I go flying out the passenger window. And Mike comes over, he said, Super, that was the greatest open. I said, putz face, that wasn't a stunt. Well, I've never seen this. I said, let's just go to commercial, I'm hurt. All right. And he said, Super. I said, listen to me. I wasn't driving, and I opened up the driver's side door and take Ray up. And he said, I'm sorry, I'm not used to driving a stick shift. I said, I knew that when we went to McDonald's 37 times. And then we just talked, and he said, let's get ready for the show. He said, all right. And then he did What Did I Say? So that's a dream. I mean, you can't, how can you possibly do better than that?
It's fantastic. Listen, I have a box of Betamax tapes in my attic with your appearances on Dave back in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, you know, Johnny Carson was just, Dave was great, but Johnny Carson was one of a kind. And to be able to do his show and have him want me back, that was a thrill. And I loved doing Letterman. I mean, he was great. But Johnny was just, you know, I mean, they both were great, but Johnny is Johnny.
Do you remember what you were feeling the first time you went on Johnny?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah. And I'd done Jay first, and I got this call from Fred DeCordova. He said, Bob, yes, he said, Johnny has asked that you only do his show from now on. I mean, the Tonight Show when he's on it. And I said, well, Freddie, I'm going to have to think about, okay, I'll do it. It's like, what kind of a call is that? What kind of a call is that? Then I'll tell you another one that you're going to love. I had a secretary when I was doing Red that was not 100% mentally. And I took a break, and I'm out playing golf, and I called in after 9 holes. I said, any calls? She said, you just had one. What? Tonight Show called and asked if you could come over tonight and fill in. I said, what did you tell him? No. I said, what? Well, I know you don't like when you're playing golf. I said, what the fuck are you talking about? What did they say? I don't know. They hung up. So, I mean, that was I sent flowers over there, candy. I came. I was like, no. Okay, thank you.
But you kept her and didn't get the guest host.
No, I wasn't a guest host. I was supposed to come on and do an act. You know, Super Dave. But right. Of course I did it. I called him and said, you didn't know she's just having the flu and didn't know what she was saying. I'll be over there. I'll tell you someone else I've got to work on. You don't have to use any of this, but when I was a kid, I got to co-host Steve Allen's radio show and his local television show. Steve Allen.
Wow.
I know, that is a wow. My partner and I produced the Van Dyke and Company, the Dick Van Dyke television show, variety show. I mean, we got to work with everybody. It was just unbelievable. But getting back to Curb, it's different, it's exciting, it's fun, and Larry's a gem. He's just it's so much fun to work with. He's so much fun.
Well, I'm so glad you agreed to do this. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give you one more joke. A guy goes into a bar with his friend, and he drinks too much, throws up in his shirt. He said, what do I do when I get home? She's going to kill me. He said, don't worry about it. Just tell her some other guy at the bar got sick, threw up in your shirt, and to prove it, he put $10 in your pocket to get it clean. I'm doing that right now. He said, you're brilliant. He goes home. He said, I'm home. She starts screaming at him. He said, listen, this wasn't me. It was another guy at the bar. Came over, got sick, and threw up in my shirt, and to prove it, he put $10 in my pocket to get it clean. She reaches in. She said, there's $20 here. He said, I know. He also shit in my pants. That's a beauty, isn't it?
It's so good. Oh,
10-year-old's walking down the hallway of his house. He's screaming in his parents' bedroom. He opens the door. His dad's dressed in an Oprah wig and bunny shoes. His mother's dressed in a Girl Scout uniform, and they're going at it. He said, Daddy, what's going on? He said, don't worry, sweetheart. Go to bed. I'll tuck you in 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, father's trudging down the hall. He's screaming in the kid's bedroom. He opens the door. His kid's having sex with his grandmother. He said, Billy, what the hell are you doing? He said, it's not so funny when it's your mother, is it?
Oh, my God.
All right, listen to me. I love Curb. I just love it. I think it's going to be a great season. And I love LD. And I also love Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, the two of them are just great. But I love LD. I love working with him. And I hope it's just a killer year. And thank you for thinking of me. And
oh, my God, it was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, pal.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this Origins original. Please be sure to subscribe to Origins for new chapters every month, along with other Origins originals and Origins conversations. Thanks so much. For Origins, I'm Jim Miller.